But it's pretty obvious with the global warming and the consequences of using fossil fuels, coal and gas, that we need to shift to another type of energy base. And free energy technology would do this. It's an unlimited, non-polluting source of energy. I think it would have vast benefits for the planet if we developed this. But of course, it has big socio-geopolitical implications.
Okay, now you said this energy is all around us.
Yeah, it's right in the field. A single cubic centimeter of space has more energy than like the whole galaxy of solid matter. There's so much energy in a small amount of empty space if you can get to it. It's in the subatomic field. You know, below the level of matter, of solid things, is the level of quantum energy, where things aren't really solid. They're like energy fluctuations in this big void. And the idea is that normally this space is kind of at an equilibrium. It's kind of settled down. But if you can perturb it a little bit, you can generate some of that quantum energy right out of the field.
Have you been able to do that?
If I could do that, we'd be talking.
Rich.
Yeah, that's right. Dr. Stephen Greer is actually developing this right now with some inventors. They've been searching for about 5 years first.
Now, who's Dr. Stephen Greer?
The person who runs the Disclosure Project.
Okay.
This is really what the whole UFO ET thing has to do with. It isn't so much that our government is afraid that people are going to panic and run wildly through the streets having a riot if ETs show up. Because I don't think that's going to happen. Everyone's seen these on TV, and it's just going to be other folks from other places. You know, it's no big deal. But
do we have an idea what they look like?
yeah, some of them look like you and me.
Okay.
Just like you and me. Some of them are a little shorter, some of them are taller, some of them are reptilian in appearance, more like scaly looking, and are related to dinosaurs.
Now, these descriptions come from the testimony of these people?
Yeah, this comes from the military witnesses. Some of these people are individuals that were assigned to communicate with these extraterrestrials telepathically. They're trained telepathically in these remote viewing skills to be able to communicate telepathically with an extraterrestrial, because extraterrestrials, for the most part, don't speak by moving their mouth. They communicate telepathically. And these military witnesses, one of whom is known, Sergeant Clifford Stone, who's talked about this in public, has his own videotapes and cassettes, and I've listened to them. And he's one of the witnesses for the project, has talked about several hundred species visiting the planet, and his own experienced 7 times of being involved in these crash retrieval projects where UFOs would crash somewhere, and his unit would be responsible for going out and getting the remains and the technology. Of course, we never see the technology again because it really has, I mean, it does have implications for how we live. And someone doesn't really want us having that technology. But I think if we don't change...
And you're saying that the reason they don't want us to have that technology is because of oil and because we'll be able to control another form of energy that could fuel cars, change the economy, decentralize the economy.
Exactly, quite a bit. In each of our cars in our homes, we'd have a little box that would sit there generating this energy noiselessly without any combustion byproducts or anything like that. That means we're not hooked to oil anymore, we're not hooked to gas, we're not hooked to coal. And that whole, you know, all of those interests, what we call in sociology, those vested interests that are making a profit from that would no longer be making a profit that way. They'd have to find another way to make a profit. And also, there also is the issue of third world countries getting a hold of this technology also. It has a lot of implications.
Okay, when we get back, I want to know why they don't already know about it, and then what's happening, what's being taught in Colorado, and what are you experiencing there. Stay with us. You're watching TV 48 Update. I'm your host, Catherine Pugh. We're talking about opening your mind, and we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. 48.
Welcome back to TV 48 Update. I'm your host, Catherine Pugh. I'm talking with Dr. Simeon Hein. We're talking about opening minds and the various experiences that he's had, and he's sharing them with us in this book, A Journey of Extraordinary Encounters, Crop Circles. We're going to talk about crop circles, and resonance.
That's right.
So you are in Colorado.
Right, and let me just give out the website at the end of the show.
Okay.
Because all of the links for the things we've been talking about are on my website, especially the Disclosure Project and the Free Energy Project that's associated with that. But yeah, I do have an institute in Colorado, or we're currently in the process of becoming a 501c3 nonprofit.
So what's your objective? What's the objective?
The objective is basically to make the public more aware of what we call subtle energy science. It's all the things we've been talking about that are non-Newtonian, non-traditional science, that we have a lot of data and evidence to show that they're real, that we think could benefit people a lot if they knew about this, including remote viewing, alternative methods of healing, energy systems, communication, that are all based on what we call subtle energy. It all has to do with what we were talking about a few minutes ago, this kind of subtle energy vacuum that's around us all over the place. It's really been shown with experiments that human thought can affect physical reality. This is not something the average scientist is going to believe.
But you know what, one of the things that science has always said is that part of your temperament, part of the way you think, has a lot to do with the way you heal.
That's right.
And
that's what we're finding. Absolutely, sure. Because beliefs affect reality. And our traditional medical system has really been focused on, finding the molecule and then taking the drug and just like it's the bullet
I think
approach.
we're becoming more and more drug-oriented.
It's very mechanistic. Yes, more and more of the population is taking drugs, especially children. I mean, talking about drugs assigned to them by their physician.
Right.
And I don't think
control
that's...
their moods and their
Yeah,
actions.
I'm really disturbed by that because I know that there's a lot simpler, cheaper ways of dealing with those issues with those kids than just medicating them. They don't have a medical problem. It's a problem of a disjuncture between our social institutions and the interests of these kids and their level of energy and excitement. And if we can find a match for that, I'm sure they'll have plenty of constructive things to do with these kids instead of medicating them. But the problem is the way we look at a lot of issues, it's very mechanistic. It's like parts in there, we can figure out what's going on and we can give the right medicine or whatever, we can fix it. Our society's been working this way for hundreds of years now. But I think we have to change because...
So you're saying, part of what you're saying is that you can part of what comes out of here is that there is self-healing. Because there are energies that will help you to heal.
The data show this conclusively. There's a really good study that came out of Duke University called the Krukov Mantra Study, where they found that prayer, people that were prayed for, got better faster than people that were not prayed for. And it didn't matter which religion it was. And even the people didn't have to know they're being prayed for. They did this with a random so-called double-blind study where you had two groups, and the groups didn't know if they were in the meditation group or the control group, but they found that the people that were being prayed for got better faster. I think that's important. And they found statistically at a significant level they got better, which means that this could be a practical treatment for a lot of illnesses. And the thing about it is it's very inexpensive to pray for someone. And the problem is that our society is oriented towards solutions that are going to make a profit for someone, but not necessarily the ones that are the most beneficial to the public. And that's why I'm excited about subtle energy science. It's things that are in general less expensive. It's built into us already. It's built into nature. And if we just find a way to tap into these types of energy and information, I think we'll be able to create the things that we need to survive, energy and communications, but we'll do it in a more natural way without all this destructive side effects.
So at your institute, are you learning ways or trying to figure out ways to harness this type of self-healing energy as well?
I've pretty much, up to this point, focused on remote viewing, because for me it's just very exciting to show people that they have this ability to activate this psychic side of themselves that they're not aware that they have. But all of these things are connected at some level. They all have to do with working with some sort of subtle energy field that's around us all the time that we're not normally aware of. Working with our belief systems, how our belief systems affect physical reality. And also working more closely with nature to use what nature already has instead of creating expensive, sophisticated techniques for doing things that we already have ways of doing that are a lot more simple.
Give an example.
Well, just medicine we were talking about a few minutes ago. I mean, there's lots of natural herbal remedies and things, and the problem is the FDA is so oriented towards kind of tests that really support the drug industry, the pharmaceutical industry, versus look at something like stevia. It's a natural sweetener that I like to use, but they can't even call it a sweetener on the side of the bottle. It has to be called a food additive because the aspartame industry didn't like them calling it a sweetener. So we're using something that we know is destructive, the NutraSweet, which has medical side effects for a lot of people. And yet we have a natural alternative, which is very inexpensive, comes from the root of a plant in South America. And it's a much better alternative, and yet the law is oriented towards the more expensive patented process versus the free, readily available natural alternative. So I think there are a lot of things in society, if you look around, you'll see that the institutions that have been serving us well in some ways are sometimes not oriented towards our best interest and more oriented towards their interest. And that's some of the things I'm concerned about. So I think all this area of subtle energy, if we worked with this, we would find that there are more natural alternatives than what we're currently using. And what I like about remote viewing, it's built in. It doesn't cost anything apart from a pen and a paper, and yet you can do something that traditional science says is impossible, perceive something at a distance. And yet, when you do that, you say, wow, I mean, how much else could be true that I didn't know about, that I just thought was kind of woo-woo, wacky stuff that actually really works?
When we come back, I want to talk about how long it takes to be able to do that. And then let's talk a little bit about dreams.
Sure.
Okay. Stay with us. You're watching TV 48 Update. I'm your host, Catherine Pugh. We're talking about opening your mind. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. 48 Update.
Welcome back to TV 48 Update. I'm your host, Catherine Pugh. I'm talking with Dr. Simeon Hein. We're talking about Opening Minds, a book that he's written, A Journey of Extraordinary Encounters, Crop Circles, and Resonance. I wanted to talk about dreams, because that's an energy.
It is an energy, yeah.
I tell people I'm going to work when I'm dreaming. I'm dreaming color, working. But sometimes I don't even feel like I sleep. I'm dreaming so much. But I solve a lot of problems in my dreams. Get up.
I bet you do.
Yep.